I arrived in Toronto from Calgary, Alberta, in 1985, and the first job I managed to secure was as a busboy at a now defunct Jewish deli on, at the time, the intersection of Yonge and Front Shopsies. And it took me a while to bond, but eventually I became friends with a rowdy shipper-receiver who worked in the kitchen named Kevin, who liked to race motorcycles on the weekend. Kevin's enthusiasm for motorcycle racing was unfortunately matched with his propensity for accidents, the most spectacular of which was a flame out on the Don Valley Parkway, which was luridly captured by a Toronto Sun photographer and held a place of honor on Kevin's wall, framed. That, coupled with the fact that most of his leg was made out of heavy-duty medical plastic, soured my enthusiasm when he kept asking me to, "Hey, why don't you take a spin on my scooter sometime?" We were both heavy drinkers at that point, but I was usually content to just stay at home and read while he was out terrorizing the Toronto highways. But eventually his persistence paid off and I relented. But on this particular occasion, I was actually at a party, one of those rare occasions where I went. It was a staff party, as a matter of fact. And we had arranged to meet the following day at, I'm not sure if it's there anymore, there was a McDonald's right next to the St. Clair subway station. So we were supposed to meet that day at noon, and I woke up at the staff party on the couch at 2 in the afternoon. He contacted the house angrily, wanting to know where I was, and after apologizing to him, I assured him I would be there within the hour. So hungover and taking my time, hoping that this would dissuade him, I arrived at the St. Clair subway station / McDonald's at around 4:15. And to my surprise, there was Kevin, nonplussed, but not particularly happy either. I strode in, looked into his eyes, and he said, "Let's go." Went outside, saw his Ninja 900, get on the back. I mounted it, trying to hold back my tears. And I said, "Where are we going?" He said, "We're going to go to your place, but first we're going to pick up some beer." So we drove to the beer store. He picked up a 2-4 of, I don't know what sort of Canadian swill he was drinking, but he drank a lot. Plomped it onto my lap, and he said, "Hold on to this beer for your fucking dear life." So I had to, I think this is the first time since I was 10 years old that I'd been on a motorcycle, and this was a streamlined Japanese crotch rocket. So I was going to put my gangly frame on this thing and hold on to the beer, and then somehow also hold on to my annoyed host, to say the least. He decided to take us back to the scene of his spectacular accident. I lived on Sackville Street in East Toronto, and he took the DVP. And to indicate just how thoroughly annoyed he was with my tardiness, he decided that every time we would hit a swerve or a curve in the road, he would do what they refer to as knee draggers. So he's on the bike, and he's going down like this, like that, like this, like that. And I'm holding on to the case of beer with my eyes shut, trying to match his movements. And he's like showing off how far his knees can go to the ground. I finally opened my eyes when we got to Sackville Street. He stops the bike. I had to teach him a lesson, so I angrily got off the bicycle, ripped my helmet off, threw it on the ground contemptuously, angrily threw my jacket on the ground, looked at him, and then promptly vomited. That was the last straw. Our next motorcycle excursion didn't take place for a few months. Kevin evidently at this point had forgiven me and had phoned me up excitedly one night. Hey man, you're never gonna believe this. What? So I came home from work the other night, stopped off at a 7-Eleven to get a sandwich, come outside, and there's this dude looking at my bike. And he comes up to me and we start talking about the bike, this, that, Japanese, blah, 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 blah. And he says, this is going to sound a little strange, but I'm being totally serious. I'll pay you $200 if you, with my instructions on how to do it, roll the bike over my body. What? That's what he said, man. $200. I said, yeah, on the condition that I can bring a friend, you. Oh, how very thoughtful of you, I said, hoping that my sarcasm would have some effect on him. It didn't. Let me get this straight. A random stranger comes up to you and offers to pay you $200 if you roll your big, intimidating Ninja 900 crotch rocket over him. Is that right? Yeah, man, that's what he said. Kevin, this sounds clearly like some kind of a gay thing. Yeah, well, that's why it's important that you're there, man. Oh, thank you, Kevin. No, two of us, we stand a chance, you know what I mean? He's going to pay us, what the hell, it's great material, et cetera, et cetera. So he talked me into it, and we met this chap at his hotel outside Toronto Pearson Airport. I can't remember exactly where the hotel was. We met him. He seemed like a nice enough fellow, sober, literate, compact. And he gave us the instructions. The first thing we had to do was go to Canadian Tire and purchase a 2x8 piece of lumber. So we did that, and then we reconvened at a vacant lot somewhere between the airport and the hotel. This is many decades ago. I can't remember exactly the location, but we did find this vacant lot. And we had the wood in, I believe he was the guy that drove us to Canadian Tire. So he comes out, it's the middle of summer, he lies down and he explains the process to us. So he's lying on the ground, we put the board over his abdomen, and then the two of us roll the bike up. When it's at the center, at the apex, the weight, it was like 400 plus pounds, presses all the air out of his body. He passes out, and then we roll the bike down. As the air re-enters his bloodstream and turns into oxygen or whatever the process is, it's actually called hypophyxelia. That's the process. Or in modern parlance, breath play. So he comes to, and then he gets really high. That's the gimmick. And the board is to make sure that the undercarriage of the motorcycle doesn't rip my flesh apart. So he's a dated Frank Zappa reference there for you, kids. Rip his guts out, eviscerate him. So the board protects him. So we did this miraculously without injury, and we couldn't believe our luck. So he invited us back. Not only did he pay us, but he invited us back to the hotel, and he was going to pay us. He was going to pay for our meal and our drinks, et cetera, et cetera. So at this point, my theory was correct. I could tell clearly that this fellow was deeply enamored with my friend Kevin, and what the hell, though? We were all having a good time, and no one was hurt. Everyone got their rocks off in one fashion or another. He then, when we were eating, said that the same process could be achieved with any amount of mass pressing the air out of his body. It needn't be a motorcycle particularly. So we're in the bar, and at this point we had gone back up to his hotel room and started to raid his mini bar, being the callow, opportunistic youths that we were at the time. And so we're up there, and he's saying, the same thing can happen with any weight. How much do you guys weigh? Kevin said he was like 200 plus. I, at the time, was a robust 120. And he said, okay, perfect. So, okay, I don't know. Why don't you guys link arms and then press all your weight into my stomach? So, I don't know why we had to link arms, but we did. And we started pressing down determinedly onto his stomach, and it was just a hopeless failure. And then he said, the two of you at the same time. So we tried to stand on his stomach like this, and we're sort of pressing down, and everyone's just laughing, and we're falling off. And then some bright spark had the idea of going onto the bed, again linking arms, and actually jumping onto him. We tried that once. Ow! Scream of pain. But we were all drunk and laughing and giggling, so it didn't really matter. Ended up on the floor in a heap. It was ridiculous, pathetic. We're all rolling around. So at one point, I left to use the bathroom, and I'm walking, shaking my head at the madness of the evening. They're still giggling and laughing in the other room. I go in, I urinate, wash my hands, splash some water on my face, start posing in the mirror, looking at myself, hanging out with myself. I'm in there for 5 minutes, just wasting time. And I've noticed there's a dip in the laughter. I come out, open the door, and there's no noise at all except for a strange gurgling sound. I go in. Kevin's astride, let's call him the Mark at this point, sitting on the Mark's chest with a plastic bag around his head. And there's this horrible gurgling noise. Even in my drunken state, I had enough foresight to realize that this wasn't a good situation. And I ran in and managed to push Kevin's 200-pound heft off the guy, ripped the plastic bag off his head. He's completely white as a ghost, and his lips are purplish blue. That was the last straw. Thank you.